Welcome back, everybody. Please welcome from Tripsketch, the founder and CEO, Lalitha Swart, and its Vice President of Engineering, Danielle Salgalovich.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sure all of you have faced one or more of the following situations. You've been traveling on business, you have a few hours of leisure time, you'd love to find something to do, you end up doing nothing. Or you're taking a flight, you've got an extended layover in an airport, you'd love to have the nerve to get out of the airport and come back in time to catch your flight, but you don't have the tools to help you plan a layover. Or third, if you're planning a little city visit with your family and you're trying to meet the conflicting demands of the different family members. We're going to use our application to show you how we engage travelers in these situations. There's a lot of travel content on the web, but very little in the way of interactive trip planning tools. Tripsketch offers an application that travel partners such as airlines, hotels, travel agencies can use to create a whole new set of consumer touch points and capture the business intelligence they need to cross-sell, upsell products and services. Technology, our application is an Ajax app, and technology is great, but only if it means mutual benefit for both parties. So let's go right into our first scenario, which is a business traveler. He or she has 24 hours in San Francisco. Now, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to click on Plan Now after they put in the dates, or perhaps their PA is going to do it, or admin, and enter their business meeting. If the address is entered, we geocode everything, and so we have a starting point for the trip, and the traveler is off and running. The next thing they're going to do is create a duration for it, and that's going to be 2 hours. So now it's noon and it's time for lunch, and we've integrated, not only do we have our own proprietary content, we've integrated third-party content onto our site. They can search by restaurants. This happens to be Open Table, and they can find a restaurant close by. They can book that restaurant, plug it into their calendar. Now it's been a couple of hours, and they've got 3 or 4 hours of leisure, and they're wondering what to do. One thing they can't do is they cannot go to the De Young Museum. It's closed today, and our trip planner will not let you put it into your itinerary. However, the other thing you can do is you can go to the Contemporary Jewish Museum, which is a cool new attraction in San Francisco. It's beautiful if you haven't been there. And we pop that into the planner. All our attraction content has recommended visit durations, so it'll automatically populate in the itinerary for an hour. And of course, you can override that if you decide you want to spend all afternoon there. This particular user decides, well, they're a museum buff, maybe they'll go to SF MoMA. But guess what? SF MoMA, we're going to give them an alert that says you probably don't have time to do justice to this attraction because you don't have the time available before your dinner meeting. So instead, they go to the map and they decide, maybe I'll just browse the shops at Union Square and spend a lot of money, kick us out of this recession. And so they pop that into their planner and they're ready to go. And of course, in the evening, if they want to do an activity, they can continue to plan in the same way. So what have we shown you here? We've shown you our proprietary content loaded with logistical criteria that you can use to create a realistic plan. And also, we've shown you the ability to integrate our third-party content, which if you're a travel provider and you have your own revenue-generating content, you might easily want your content on our site. We're more than happy for you to do that. So let's pop up our next scenario. Our next scenario is somebody who is searching for flight options from San Francisco to Tel Aviv, and it's a hellish flight. There's no way you can get it down to anything less than 24 hours, and many of them involve a layover at London Heathrow. In this particular case, the user is going to see they have 9.5 hours in Heathrow, and they might just resign themselves to that. However, if our travel partner, in this particular case, we're just using Orbitz as an example, decides they can do a web service call, they can call on our content, and they can pop up categories of attractions that are available for the user to take advantage of that 9-hour period. Let's say the user, again, is a museum buff. You can tell I like museums. And you can see that the British Museum is not on there because it's closed that day. So we're not going to pop it up as an attraction. But other attractions are available. And if the user chooses to, they can pop into our trip planning app, which we will, of course, customize for our partner's look and feel. It's pre-populated with time to get in and out of the airport. And now you can create a trip plan. You can say, what can I do? In this particular case, the user says, I'd like to go to the Natural History Museum. Really, we have more than museums on our site, I promise you. Probably not enough golf courses for some of you, but we'll get there. In addition to that, we can also tell you how to get there. We show you transport options from the airport to downtown central London, and the way to do it is to take the Paddington Express. You're in central London in 45 minutes, and the users got a nice little plan, something to do, instead of sitting around in the hotel browsing the bookstores or the food court. And we also have a little budgeting tool because layovers can be very expensive, so if somebody decides, in fact, they might want to consider a tour in the London area, they can pop that, they can evaluate it, and they can decide whether they want to do it or not, because at the bottom of the IP is a daily budget planner that we have on the site. We'll tell you more about budgeting later. Now, how can our partners use this in a way where they can sell their own products and services? Well, right there, for example, they might want to be selling the traveler a day room. So in this particular case, you could pop into the Sheraton and spend the day there for $78, which I find hard to believe, but here it is on the site. Or you could pop up a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing tour of London. Or maybe you would want to sell a rental car for somebody to go visit Windsor Castle or drive down to the Fat Duck in Bray and have a jolly good meal and then come back, feel really sick on your flight to Tel Aviv. So that's the second scenario where our travel partners, if they choose to, can use their own revenue-generating content, put it into our site, and create a nice consumer touch point to cross-sell and upsell services. The benefit for the traveler, of course, is that they've got something to do in this really boring period of time. Let's pop up our third scenario here. We have a family trip. And we've all gotten emails where you get hotel offers, in Washington, D.C. But what this doesn't do is it doesn't help the family decide what the overall cost of the trip is. So if you have our trip planning icon on, for example, the hotel site, you can pop into our budgeting tool, and immediately we will show you the difference. Perhaps you might consider New York, or you might consider Washington, D.C., or one of the 65 cities we have on the site right now. And you can create your own preferences, moderate dining, expensive lodging, whatever you want to do, the number of rooms. Do you really want to be cramped in one room with your whole family, or are you going to spring for two to save your sanity? See the impact on that budget. If you're a family coming from Britain, perhaps you want to see it in your local currency. So we have a multi-currency feature on the site, and users can see it in their currency of choice. But let's get back to our American family. Now, right here is the place to educate consumers because everyone wants value. This is the place to tell people about travel insurance or educate them about that, or your travel credit card, or all the various other financial services that are related to travel. Anyway, back to our American family. They're into trip planning mode. They decide they can spring for this trip, and they're into our Washington, D.C. attraction browser, where they can pretty much use the similar functionality to create drag-and-drop attractions and sketch out an itinerary. We all know that it's a negotiation process to get kids out of the hotel and to do anything other than eat or shop or spend time in the hotel. So here the parents want to go to the Smithsonian, and the kids want to spend a lot of money at the Spy Museum. Guess what? There's time to do both. Our trip planner will let you do both. We'll even tell you how to get between the 2 points. Moving on to where you can slot in a restaurant if you want to do that. Moving on to the next day, let's say that the father's a Civil War buff and he wants to take a day tour of Gettysburg. So he pops up our listing of tours, and he evaluates the possibilities. This happens to be a full day tour, and he can go into his daily budget and take a look at it and go, whoa, $1,000 for a day? I don't think so. Who cares? Civil War, American Revolution, let's go see Mount Vernon instead. A lot cheaper, and it's only half a day. So he pops that into his itinerary, and the family's ready to go. In this way, in the comfort of their own home, instead of arguing in front of the concierge, a family can sketch out and deal with the conflicting demands to create some sort of an itinerary. And the hotel site can then pop up their own hotels that make sense for the user to choose from. So we feel that it's a pretty good tool. Now, we didn't tell you that you can save, or you can save and share. So you can save this itinerary, and you can also share it. And I think I'm out of time. Oops. But anyway, you can share it with your professional network, or you can share it with your social network. You can share it with a travel professional in order to figure out who can give you a bid, who can enhance it, maybe suggest a restaurant, an activity, something you'd like to do. So in summary, we can obviously help the consumer with creating an interesting set of logistical criteria against which to create and plan. And for travel partners, they can benefit from creating new consumer touch points, cross-selling and upselling opportunities, and the ability to take these itineraries, take this intelligence, and use it at a later date for people with a similar profile, or even for people with the same profile. Thank you very much. Visit us at tripsketch.com.
Tripsketch.